Hey guys, it's Sean Sewell here, and I'm coming to you from Cairns in Queensland. And in today's video, I'd like to talk about the concept that every conversation is a negotiation. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's essentially where you have an outcome in a situation. Every conversation that we have is actually a form of negotiation. So it could be something as simple as trying to figure out where to go for dinner with some friends or with your partner or something like that. Or if those of us who have kids or know somebody with kids, something as simple as getting in the shower, you need to be, have the skill set of a hostage negotiator just to get your kids in the shower, and then you need to use those again about 5 or 10 minutes later to get them out of the shower because suddenly they love being in the shower and they didn't want to be there in the first place. So that's a standard negotiation skills that we need to apply in daily life. Now let's look at it in the context of business. So in the context of business, how does that work? Well, think about the situations where you're negotiating to bring a new team member on, or you could be negotiating to do a new service or sell a new product to a client. Now, that requires negotiation. The client obviously wants to pay less, you want them to pay more, the client wants to get more, you may want to give less, so there's a negotiation of to and fro there. So what I'd like to do though is go through and talk about a couple of examples. So the first example is a client of mine recently. He actually was looking to bring a gentleman who was working very high up in the sales side of an industry. And now he was over in Western Australia and my client was in the East Coast. And he had an existing business that was doing quite well, and he saw this as an opportunity to expand across into the west coast of Australia. Now he got a little bit overly excited about it and started telling this guy it's going to be better than, bigger than Ben-Hur, better than sliced bread, all this sort of stuff. Telling the guy that when you come in and as it starts becoming successful, you can get an equity position in my primary business and things like that. Now, this has happened multiple times. So I'm not just talking about this individual client. I've seen this multiple times, and yeah, I've been guilty of it. Probably 10 or 15 years ago, I was a bit guilty of it myself. But the lesson here is that he's gone in highly emotional. What happens when we're highly emotional is that we lose some of our intelligence. What also happens when we're highly emotional is we tend to give away too many of our aces. We let too many cats out of the bag, so to speak, and we don't have much left to actually give and to negotiate on because we've told them how this blue sky is going to look. It's going to be fantastic. Now, this other individual has been an employed person his entire life. He's never been in a business, but now he's got this expectation that he's going to become part of the overall business in a very short space of time. So it's made it very, very challenging for the actual negotiation to take place. Now, a second example is one with myself and a business partner of mine a few years ago now when we did a 7-figure acquisition. Now, that acquisition went through, but in the negotiation process, we were very, very deliberate. I suppose the polar opposite of that client I was talking about. So what we did was, before every communication with the seller, is that my business partner and I met and we discussed, right, what information are we willing to give away? What information must we withhold so that we can bring it out when it's necessary to ensure that we're negotiating a fair and equitable exchange of value when we buy this business. Now, we wanted to make sure we paid a fair and equitable price for it. Not too much, but also we're not in the business of effectively screwing people either. So basically we did that. So every conversation we had, we were very strategic, met, talked about it, and then went into that conversation with a deliberate set of outcomes. Come second face-to-face meeting is when we needed to talk about numbers. It was crunch time. So basically what we did was we used a strategy of letting the other party say their number first. Now, the beauty of that strategy in any negotiation is that it allows you to see where they are sitting. Are they sitting at a very high place? Are they sitting at a lower place to you? Where are they actually sitting and how does that compare to what you would be willing to pay for this opportunity? Now, I'm glad that we spent the 5 minutes of discomfort while each of us were avoiding saying our number, which felt like about 50 minutes, because when he actually said the number, ultimately, it was well over $100,000 lower than what I would have said had I put my number forward first. So it's a very deliberate strategy. Now, what are the 3 keys we can take away so you can apply this every day? Well, the first one is use deliberate language. So be deliberate and not desperate. Be very strategic in the things that you're going to say and how you actually say them. Number 2 is limit the emotion in any of the conversations and the actual overall negotiation. Do not be attached to the deal. Do not be emotionally attached to the person. This is generally in negotiations in business, it's a business transaction first. It might involve relationships, but you need to nail the business stuff first. The third one is be willing to walk away. Now, no opportunity should be so engaged to that you could not actually walk away from it. What happens the majority of the time though is if you actually start to walk away, that other person starts to walk towards you and actually start to chase you a little bit. So you'll start to get a little bit back from that negotiation. So remember, those 3 points is: number 1, use deliberate language, don't be desperate. Number 2, limit the emotion. And number 3 is be willing to walk away. So I'd love to hear a situation where either you're currently in a negotiation, you might have started off on the wrong foot, given a little bit too much away, or you've actually gone in that process and found that it didn't work out. I'd love to hear about that. How did you go through it? How did it turn out? Put it in the comments below or shoot me a message. I'd love to try and support you if I can. Other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great one.